All right, so today we're going to be doing a combination of dumbbells and bands for working the upper body muscles. So we're going to do chest, back, arms, and shoulders. So when do you use bands instead of dumbbells? So there's a lot of nuance to this, but the big thing for me is I use bands when I need gravity or a directional pull different than gravity. Now, what does that mean? I'll show you in just a second. So for a band, so dumbbells only ever go downward. So it always pulls straight down. But if I'm doing something like a chin up, which we're gonna do today, and I want it assisted, the dumbbell is really not gonna help me with that. So bands, I can pull against gravity. So that's what I'm gonna do with this resistance band here on the chin-up bar. It gives me that pull in a different direction than gravity, which is what I'm looking for this exercise. So I like to use these monster bands from Rogue, but any loop band like this, you can use it for assisting to take some of that weight off, either putting it on your knee or your foot. So we're gonna start with working the back with a chin up and I'm gonna use a bench press for an incline press. You could also do this seated in a chair, pointing your chest towards the ceiling. So first we're gonna warm up. We're gonna warm up the chest and the back along with some of the arms as well. So I'm gonna get this bench in position. What I like to do for warming up chin-ups is using a band. Instead of going all the way to a chin-up, I do a chin-up pull down instead. So I reach up, grab the band I'm going to use for the assist, and pull it down to my chest with my palms facing towards my body. This is just getting the muscles warmed up a little bit. Shouldn't be that intense. You should just feel that muscle contracting a little bit. But our goal here is not to exhaust the muscle, just to get some blood flow into the muscle and joint. So I do about 10 to 12 of these, just till I feel that joints start to loosen up a little bit. Might feel a little stiff at the beginning, but as you go, it should feel like it's starting to warm up, get a little looser, get a little more fluid. I really like the bands for this because there's not really a good way of doing this with a dumbbell. So big thing, point your chest up at the band, pulling down. That engages your back. And once you feel like you've warmed up with that, doing about 10 to 12 of these. Hopefully you're doing these along with me. I'm here to help if you have any questions. Now, I'm gonna shift this just a little bit. We're gonna do an incline press. So for this, I'm using a 20-degree angle and just grabbing some light dumbbells or some lighter dumbbells than you would normally do with this exercise. So for me, I normally use 40-pound dumbbells. For a warm-up, I'm gonna use a 20-pound dumbbell. So I'm gonna put this right at my chest level. This angle gets a little bit more of those upper fibers of the chest. So from here, I'm gonna push up towards the ceiling, back down, tap my chest with the dumbbells, and then back up. Just warming up that shoulder. Now, if you can't get all the way to your chest off the bat, just go to where you comfortably can with your shoulder, trying to increase that range a little more each time as you warm up. So it might be the shoulders are a little bit stiff. Hang on just a moment. Just getting the mic a little bit down. Doing about 10 reps of this, at least 10 to 12 reps. That just means 10 to 12 times up and down till you feel that shoulder joint start to warm up. We're warming up the tricep muscles in the back of the arm and the pecs, those chest muscles, especially those upper pec fibers, which are right underneath the collarbone. So I like to do exercises in what's called a superset, where I do one side of the joint, so like pushing muscles like we're doing now, then followed up by a pulling exercise right after. So now that I've warmed up a little bit, going to an assisted pull-up. Now, there's two different ways you can do this. You can either step into the band with your foot like this and push it down. I don't like this way as much because it's harder for me to get in this position. So it'd be like this, standing in the middle of the band for the pull-up. But for me, what I like to do instead, because it's also hard to get out of that position, is I like to put my knee in the middle of the band instead. So both of those are fine, whatever's more comfortable for you. I'd use a band like this though, especially if you're working on your chin up or your pull-up strength. It can help let you do multiple reps because it's taking some of that gravity away. So, grabbing about shoulder width, letting your body hang. You're gonna go all the way down to a full hang, pull up, and then back down to a full hang. Now that full hang is really important because that's where we're really getting that muscle to stretch out, to create that mechanical tension, and where you're going to see that muscle building. So going all the way down, all the way up. Try and keep your chest pointed up towards the bar. And one more. Going to where you feel that muscle fatiguing. So for me, I think I got about 8. Now, you want to aim for more than 5. So anywhere between 5 and actually 30 is fine. I don't know if I could quite do 30, but or maybe some of you guys can. Especially if you can't do 5 though, I would go to a heavier band, or you could always double up, add another band on top of this one, so create 2 loops that you put your knee into if you need. So for me, the purple band gets me to between 5 and 10. Anywhere in there is fine. So we just worked pulling muscles. Now we're going to work pushing muscles. So we're going to work these upper fibers of the chest muscle. So to do that, I'm going to grab a pair of dumbbells. And I like to set them on my knees, lean back and kick them up into position right at my chest level. Hey Jody, good to see you, welcome. From here, keep tapping the inside of your chest with the dumbbell. You're gonna push straight up from there. So trying to keep the dumbbell right in line with your chest. So don't let it come in together. Try and keep them straight over the top of your shoulder. That's gonna keep tension on that chest muscle. You should feel that really opening up your chest as you come back down. Now I'm not locking out my elbows. I'm keeping that tension on the chest muscle the whole time. And again, we're trying for at least 5 of these. If you need to, if you can't do 5, means that dumbbell is too heavy for you. Try it with a lighter dumbbell where you can get at least 5 reps. Now, If you are doing this and you can do more than 30 reps, same thing, try a heavier dumbbell. Because you can get more than 30, it's too heavy or it's too light for you. You want to challenge that muscle a little bit more. Okay, so because we're doing a superset, meaning we're alternating between pushing and pulling muscles in this case, we're gonna go straight back into chin-ups. Because while we were doing, excuse me, while we were doing bench press or incline press, the muscles in your back are actually resting and recovering. So it means we can go to the next exercise with less rest time. So this is a great way to do a workout if you're limited on time, which all of us are really. So if you only have 30-40 minutes to work out, supersets are a great way to get more exercises in the same amount of time. So going to a complete hang, putting your knee in the band for the assisted chin-up, bringing your chest towards the bar. Now, the important part of this movement is actually the bottom half of the movement. So if you can't get your chest to the bar, don't worry. Just go to about forehead level and then all the way down to the bottom where you get that lengthening of the muscle. So that's where you get that muscle growth. Trying for about 8 of these. Last one. I can really feel that burning sensation in my lats, which run right here up into your arm. So they go down here, actually all the way to the low back, but I feel it right in here. So that was set number 2 of chin-ups. Going to set number 2 of incline bench press, just right into it. If you ever need to take a second, catch your breath, if you're doing these with me, don't worry. Take a moment, come back on the next set. I know it's hard to go from one to the next. So if we keep on doing this, you might notice your heart rate is a little bit up. So we're getting a cardio workout while we're getting a resistance workout. Just make sure you stay safe. Don't push yourself to the point where you lose control of the weights. And pushing up. So dumbbells, you can have your elbows tucked in a little bit if it's uncomfortable at your shoulder. So starting with your dumbbells right at your chest, pushing out to the front, and then tap your chest. So out and tapping that chest. The important part in this is go all the way down, as low down as you can, bending those elbows down. It's not as important that you lock out your arms. It actually takes tension off of the chest to do so. Breathing out as you push up, in as you bring it down, and relax. That was set number 2. Now, the number of sets is actually more important than the number of reps that we do. I'm aiming for at least 3 sets, because if I do 3 sets 3 times a week, that means I get 9 times for that particular muscle. And the more sets I can get, the faster that muscle will grow. But the important thing is you don't want to do so many sets that you miss a workout. So let's say I worked out on Monday doing chest. If I did so many sets that by today I was sore, I couldn't push as hard on that muscle, I'm actually hurting my overall growth. So you want to do just enough sets where you're sore or where you're tired from it, but then you can recover and are ready to go by the next time it's on the schedule to work out. So that's what I'd recommend, is find that number for you. Might be 2 sets in a workout, it might be 4. Some days I can do 4 and I can recover. I'm gonna try for that today. It's the last time I did 3. I wanna see if I can fit 4 in today. So, we're going into set number 3 of chin-ups. Oh man, these are always the one that's a little more daunting for me. Give me an emoji in chat if chin-ups are kind of daunting for you, if they're a little bit frightening or difficult. And no, it can't be the only one. All right. Again, I like to do my knee in the band to provide some resistance, or to provide some assistance, I should say. So, hands about shoulder width apart, and letting your body come to a complete hang. I'm taking this foot up off the ground, so I'm not standing. Pulling up, bring your chin or your forehead up to the bar, and then all the way back out straight. We're working on those lats and some of the biceps with this, along with the muscles in your upper back. I don't think I'm gonna get to 8 here. I'm gonna do my best. 7. One more. And 8. Oh. Man, that was burning in my arms. I think I'm gonna need a quick sip of water before the next. I like that exercise because it's a great compound movement. It gets the lats, these muscles in the back of the shoulder blade, and the biceps all at once. That's why I like doing the chin-ups instead of a pull-up, because I find it gets a little bit more of that bicep muscle engaged. All right. We just did pulling muscles. Now we're gonna do some pushing muscles. So grabbing dumbbells and going for an incline press. This is working the chest and the triceps in the back of your arm. And pushing up. Dumbbells to your chest level. You want them right up at the front of your shoulder. Pushing up to the front. And then back down, tap the shoulder and back. Try and keep those hands wide at shoulder width. Don't let them knock together. That's the one thing about dumbbells instead of a barbell, is they're not fixed, which is a good thing in a lot of cases. It means that it doesn't hit you in the chest if you get stuck. But you also need to make sure that you don't bring the dumbbells together. Keep them right over the top of your shoulder. Going to where I feel that fatigue building up in the muscle, and then I'm stopping. Whew. All right, that was set number 3. Oh. So that's usually where I stop. What do you guys think? Do you want to try for a 4th set today? Usually I do about 3 sets per exercise. I think I want to try for a 4th. The one thing that would, if I try for 4 today, get to Friday and still feel sore, I'm gonna probably give myself another week. If I did 3 last Monday, so 2 days ago, I'm gonna try for 4 today and see how it feels. So if you're attempting your 4th set with me, let me know. So that way we can cheer each other on working through this. I find it's hard to work out with no one cheering you on. It's very discouraging. Or I know a lot of people get very discouraged because they feel like they're not getting anywhere, because for them, they see themselves in the mirror every day so they don't see the changes that are happening in their body. So I think it's so important to have a community of people around you. So thank you guys for being here, so we can cheer each other on, encourage each other, because I think resistance training is so important for maintaining healthy muscles and joints. It does a lot more than that in your body too, actually. It's very good for you in many different ways. All right. Going all the way down, trying to keep good form. Even on these later sets, it's very easy for the form to deteriorate where we're not going all the way down. That was 5. I'm gonna try for 6. And 6. That's it for me on that last one. That happens when you try for an additional set. Maybe you can't hit the number of reps you did on the first set. That is okay. That means your body is fatiguing. Excuse me. So, we got everything we could out of that exercise. Oh, my forearms are actually burning. I'm gonna take a second before going on to the next exercise, just because I don't think I could lift the dumbbells safely right now. So I'm gonna let my forearms relax a little bit. Because right now, gripping is tiring. So I don't wanna be doing that where I'm holding dumbbells above my chest. And that's what I mean by weightlifting safely. Even though the supersets, going from pushing it to pulling muscles, I have to rely on my grip for both of those. So I'm gonna make sure I prioritize not injuring myself, because that's the biggest way to set myself back. If I can't lift, if I can't work out, it's no good if I got a little bit more out of this workout and then missed a week or 2 weeks because of an injury. So I'm gonna let my forearms relax a little bit. Once I feel like I can hold the weight safely again, I'll go ahead and keep going. Whew. I know when I was younger, I'd push myself into pain, into injury much more often, and that's actually has slowed down my workouts a bit. So now that I'm a little bit older, hopefully a little bit wiser, so I now don't push myself quite so hard where I'm not pushing into that pain. So hopefully learn from my mistake. Let's avoid injury together so we can all stay happy and healthy. So Jody says, I use kettlebells, just went from 2 at 10 pounds to 2 at 20 pounds. 6 days a week, 5-minute sets. What do you think of kettlebells? Hey, great job, Jody. Oh, whoop. Great job. That's quite the jump to go from 10 to 20. Very impressive. I really like kettlebells. I don't own any because I find they take up a lot more space for me and I have limited storage. Let me do this. But kettlebells have some, they're very similar to dumbbells. You can do a lot of the same exercises with them, but you can also do some swinging motions with kettlebells that are harder to do with a dumbbell. So I think that they're actually a really versatile piece of gear. They do take up a lot of space, so you have to find a place to store them. But as opposed to the adjustable dumbbells, especially, much less space. That's, I think, the one downside of kettlebells. But the upside is that you can do almost everything you can do with a dumbbell, you can do with kettlebells, plus some. Like a kettlebell swing where you have it between your legs. You can do like this movement. That's much harder to do with a dumbbell. There's just not a good grip on it. And you get some of that instability because it swings. So you can get more of that, you can get some more exercises easier with it because it always acts like a pendulum pulling down towards gravity. So yeah, if you have them, kettlebells are a great tool. All right, so I think we're good to keep going. If you're doing, since you asked, if you're doing a kettlebell with this, imagine, I don't have one here, so imagine, sorry, this is the kettlebell weight down here. So you can still do these with the incline press with the kettlebell. So you'd either have it like here on your arm or here on the outside, whatever's comfortable. So either way, you can do this incline press. And that will get you the same movement pattern. All right, set number 4 of incline press. So you still do the same, you'd set them on your knees. Awesome, I'm glad you're adding that to your workout. I think this is a great exercise for a lot of muscles in your upper body. So we're getting the chest muscles, the pec, so those are the pec major and minor, as well as your triceps with this, and some of those upper fibers of the chest, those pec major muscles. So you can do this propped up. You can actually do this laying down on a bed, propped up with pillows, that would work. But if you have some sort of slanted bench like this, it's, I think, the best way of doing this one. Setting it up at that 20-degree mark, pushing up over the top of your shoulders, back down. We've got to try for one more. And relax. And I catch them on my knees. And I'm gonna re-rack the dumbbells. Okay, so take a minute, grab a drink of water if you need. We're gonna go on to working a bit more in the arms. I'm gonna slide this out of the way for a moment. So we're gonna work the muscles in the triceps and the biceps now, a little more in isolation. So working the biceps in here and the triceps in the back. Now with these, the important thing is we want to get that muscle, those muscles into a really elongated stretch position. So for the tricep, what that's gonna mean is we're gonna need that elbow up above the shoulder. So for triceps, we're gonna be doing a tricep extension, or the other name for this is a skull crusher. I think that sounds a little bit harsh. Don't worry, no skulls will be crushed on stream. So for here, see, I'm keeping my elbows up, and then I'm gonna walk out to where my hands are by my ears and I have tension in the band. Now, the thing with the band on this one is it's nice because I can stay horizontal. So the pole is straight back away from me. So I want this anchored at a point where it's right behind, sort of at my neck level or my head level, right in this range. So the pole is straight backwards. So from here, I'm gonna keep my elbows tucked in and then push out towards the front for a skull crusher or for a tricep extension. Now, if so for dumbbells, we could do that laying down on the bench. I don't like that as much, and I'll show you why I like the bands better for this exercise. So what I find with this one, I have to be laying down to do the same movement. So I'm keeping my elbows high and I bend my elbows. What happens is the dumbbell gets really close to my head if my elbows are tucked in. So I tend to it feels like it's much easier for me to clip myself in the head, where it actually does it is a skull crusher. It does hit me in the head. So that's why I like bands instead of dumbbells for this one, because I don't have this big end to it that could hit me in the head. Kettlebells, you might be able to do this one where it moves past your head, but I would be careful to not let it clip you as you're bending. So that's why I like to do it with the band instead. But I'm gonna show the bicep curl that we're gonna do. So this is called a drag curl. You're gonna start with your hands pointing straight up and down. And then from here, you're gonna extend out towards your feet, tap the ground, and then pull back up. So out towards your feet and back up. And this really gets that bicep lengthened under tension. I really like it. You might feel it all the way up to the front of your shoulders doing this exercise. This is the most effective bicep exercise I have found though. You could do this with kettlebells as well. I personally am using dumbbells, but kettlebells would be just the same. Holding onto the handle, let the weight sort of go down towards your feet side. So as you rotate down, it doesn't get in your way. Tap, and then back up. So we're gonna do a set of these, trying to get at least 5, or I am going all the way up to 30. So down, tap, up. You should feel that tension in your bicep. This is an unbelievable tension feeling in that upper arm. A light weight goes a long way on this one. 9, and one more. And 10. I would start with a lighter dumbbell than you would expect, or a lighter weight than you would expect for this one. And see how you feel at doing multiple reps. That tires out quickly. I feel all the way from the top of the shoulder down to the inside of my elbow. That bicep goes across that full length. Whew. So give me a thumbs up if you're trying these with me and you like what you're feeling. If you're getting a pump in that bicep, you might feel like it's a little bit swollen, a little bit bigger. That's good. That means we got that muscle effectively. Blood flows into that muscle and gives it that swollen feeling. So now we're gonna go to the tricep, which is in the back of the arm, back in here. It's a big muscle in the back of the arm. So starting with your hands right at your ears. So grabbing onto the handle, elbows tucked in. I should feel this pulling me back in this position. If I don't feel that, I would step forward a little bit until I feel that tension pulling me back. So from here, just move around the bench a little. From here, keeping those elbows high and in, you're gonna straighten your arms out and then back. I'm just gonna kneel on the bench. Now on this one, I really want to try and bend my elbows as much as possible to get my hands back to my ears. So I'm not letting the elbows move. I'm going all from that tricep in the back of the arm. The more bent those elbows are while being up at shoulder height or above, the more tension I'm getting into that tricep muscle. Goes all the way from the elbow into the shoulder blade. And last one. Now in this, locking out is not as important. So if I can't get to completely locked out, that's okay. The important part is getting all the way back to fully bent on your elbow. All right, so we are supersetting this movement with the bicep curl, laying on a bench. Now, if you don't have a bench, hang on a moment, I gotta adjust this weight down just a little bit actually. So I'm going for 15 pounds now instead of 20. If you don't have a bench, you can do this laying down on a couch or a bed. Just have one elbow off to the side, bring it down to your feet, and then pull back up. So if you have a bench though, it lets you do this two arms at once a little bit easier, where you go all the way down towards your feet, pull back up to straight. You're going down, tapping the ground. This is creating a ton of tension at the bicep, because the bicep actually attaches up at the shoulder and then goes all the way to the inside of the elbow. So doing this makes it so I lengthen it both at the shoulder and at the elbow. So we're really creating that length in the muscle where there's a lot of tension, and that's what leads to a lot of growth in the muscle. I tried for years to build up my bicep, and nothing ever really felt like a good bicep workout. Everything that I tried was a forearm workout more than a bicep workout. This is the first one I found that really hits the bicep more than anything else for me. And relax. Whew. How about you guys? Anyone else find that it's hard to find a working bicep exercise where you feel like your arms just aren't growing like you want them to? I know I worked years for my arms and just never felt like I was getting the correct muscles to work until I switched to this one. And then this year, my arms have actually grown more than they have really ever. I really like it. It's taking biomechanics and applying it to exercise. So I was listening to a doctorate in exercise science, doctor of exercise science, talk about these and apply that biomechanics to this exercise, and it really makes all the difference. So that's what I like is making it easier to get where we want to using biomechanics. Hopefully I'm not losing you on that, guys, on that one. I'm just I think it's pretty helpful. But what we're going to do now is go back to tricep. This is set number 2 of triceps. So keeping those elbows high, hands up by your ears, stepping forward till you feel that tension in the band. Pulling those elbows in. I'm trying to bend my elbows all the way back, keeping that tension on the band. Now, if I don't lock out completely, that's okay. You don't need to straighten your elbow completely. The important part is coming all the way back to where your elbow is completely bent. That's what's going to get you that growth. See your message? I'll read in just a second. Two more. Last one. Oh. So Stephen S says, I switched to doing preacher curls with my incline bench recently. Have been really liking them, but I do also like the version you're doing. Hey, that's great. I do like the preacher curl as well. I do find I can hit some of the bicep with that as well. And if it works for you, that's awesome. I find I get a little bit of mix between forearm and bicep with it, just personally. With the other one, just how my body's put together, and everyone's a little different. I find it's easier for me to target that in, but I will switch it up with preacher curl as well. That's a great one as well. Mountain Mover says I do about 200 push-ups and 200 bicep curls. Wow, that is a lot of bicep curls. Every other night. So I would, if you're doing that many push-ups, I would actually, and bicep curls, I would drop the number of reps down a little bit and increase the weight a little bit. So instead of doing, say you're doing curls with 20 pounds and doing a ton of curls, I would try to drop the reps down a little bit and increase the weight a little bit. Because I think you'll get a little, you'll be able to build more muscle faster, because 200 reps, I mean, even if you're doing 5 sets, which is a lot of sets, you're still doing like 40 reps a set. So that's probably not getting you as much as you could be. I would recommend dropping the reps a little bit and adding a little bit more weight. But that's still really admirable to be pushing yourself to do 200 push-ups, 200 bicep curls every other night. That's really good dedication. And so if we can take that same dedication and add just a little bit of resistance to it, I think you'll see even better results. But give it a try, see how it feels, and see if you get the results you want. Because when I bring up these numbers, it's just, these are the averages. On average, this will work better. It's not saying for sure, but it's saying typically it will work more effectively. So I would say you would want, we had another question about doing 1,000 push-ups versus 200 push-ups. I think doing fewer push-ups at higher resistance would be better. So you could do this stacking like a backpack or a weight vest on your back to increase the resistance. Or if you have access to a weight plate, you can put that on your back. Also, talk about this real quick. So if you have a resistance band like this, what you can do is put it around your back like this and there we go. So you can put it like this. So you're sort of doing a push-up with the band pulling against you, and that'll add resistance. So imagine like I'm pushing up this way. This is kind of a heavy band for that right now, but so sort of wrapping the band around behind. So as you push up, the band resists you. That's a great way of using bands where you need it to pull a different direction than gravity, or a different way than gravity. So holding that band under each hand. All right, let's see. I think we just did set number 2. So now we're gonna go to set number 3. Now, I've always heard these called a drag curl. And the standing version I've heard is a pelican curl. Let me know if you guys have heard a different name for this exercise. So going down towards your feet, tapping the ground with the dumbbell, and pulling back up to straight, feeling that tension in your bicep. Trying to go to where I feel that strain, that tension feeling, all the way up from my inner arm up to my shoulder. I'm going until I feel that fatigue building in the muscle. So at least 5 reps, all the way up to 30 reps if I could make it. If I get to 30, I need to increase the dumbbell resistance, so I need to get a heavier dumbbell. One more. And relax. So what I'm doing is I'm sending a signal from the bicep to my body, and the heavier the dumbbell, the stronger that signal. It's like the louder that muscle is talking. So every rep, it's like the muscle sending a message. I need to grow, I need to grow. And so we want the weight to be heavy enough where that message gets through. It's loud enough where it gets to your body to tell it to grow. So that's why we want to go heavy enough where that signal gets through. If we're too light, that's why I say if you get to 30, go heavier, because if it's too light, it's not going to grow as much as it could, or maybe not at all, depending on how light it is. So if you ever feel like you're spending a lot of time working out, but not really growing as much as you want to be, but you just do a lot of high rep movements, then try a heavier dumbbell or a heavier resistance band and see if that doesn't break through that plateau on growth. So going here, tucking the elbows in, starting with your hands up by your ears, pushing out, and then bending the elbows all the way, feeling that tension in the tricep, the back of the arm. I'm trying to keep those elbows tucked in. Now what that does is it makes so I'm not using my chest muscle. The elbows come out, I get to cheat and use some of that chest. But for this, I'm really trying to target in at those triceps. The more my elbows are in, the more those triceps have to work. You can see I'm shaking a little bit already. That's because I'm built up a lot of fatigue in this muscle, and so I'm not able to control it quite as much. Now this is where I really like the resistance bands instead of dumbbell, because if I was doing this with the dumbbell and got this close to my head, it might actually clip me in the eye or in the ear, and that's no fun. So that's one of the reasons I really like the resistance bands on that skull crusher exercise. So push-ups, biceps curls, and skull crushers are basically all I can do. I have an injury where essentially my shoulder pops due to ligament damage. Ooh. So maybe you have had a labral tear. That is that's rough. And a herniated disc in C5, the C5 cervical spine. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I also had a C5 injury when I got into a car accident. I got rear-ended and it bent my spine backwards at C5, which C5 is, for anyone who doesn't know, is the 5th vertebra down. So it's right about here on your back. And it had the nerves that start there go into your arm and shoulder. So if you have a herniated disc, you can have a pinched nerve right at that arm and shoulder. So you definitely want to be careful of that. I know for me, I don't have a labral tear, but I found that strengthening the rotator cuff, the muscles back here in the back of the shoulder, so doing external rotation movements, was a part of getting that shoulder back into working order, because all these muscles got torn up from the car accident. So if you're experiencing something similar, especially if you feel popping, you might try doing some band work, doing something like this. So starting at your belly button, rotating out to the side. Now, if you don't have a band like this, what you can do instead is put your arm against a door frame or a wall, and you're gonna push backwards with your arm like this. So going here and pushing your body up, and that will strengthen these little muscles in the back of the shoulder. As long as you check with your physician, whoever diagnosed you, and make sure that's gonna be okay for your shoulder to do. But I found that that was a great way of strengthening back these muscles in the back of my shoulder that had all gotten torn up by the car accident with that C5 injury. And you can see if that gives a little bit more room, because the C5 nerve goes here underneath the collarbone into your arm. And so we're opening up that space for that nerve there. Man, sleeping is, so Mountain Mover says, sleeping is difficult. It takes me hours to fall asleep due to pain and other sleeping issues. Man, I hear you. It was, I went through something very similar with the pain after the car accident. I'm not saying that I'm exactly the same, but I'm just saying I can empathize with you. That it is really difficult. I hope that you find something to relieve, or I hope that you were able to find a solution that helps you. I know for me, I had to re-strengthen this movement, and then the other thing was this movement. So I'm pulling my chin back and in, because I found these muscles all got were creating a lot of pain for me. So pulling back into that chin tuck position where I'm trying to, you can put your fingers on your chin and pull in like this, and that can help these muscles readjust to where your head's not pulled forward, and that'll take a lot of that pressure off of your neck. We're right at that C5 level. So I know that's what helped me. As long as it doesn't increase your pain, that would be the one thing I would caution you. Just try it out. If it doesn't hurt, give it a try. See if that works. Doing about 10 of those, 10 morning, afternoon, and evening. So Jody says, I found that working out in the evening helps with overnight circulation and numbness. Oh, very good. I used to work out more in the evening. As long as you're not working out so close to bed that it keeps you up, I think that's great. Finding a time that works for you that's gonna get you, get your workout in. And the fact that it's decreasing your numbness is a really good thing. That's awesome. I know that is really not fun, especially in your hands and feet, where you go to bed and your fingertips are cold or your toes are cold. Really not fun. So I'm glad that you are finding that is increasing your circulation. All right, we just did set number 3. So now we're gonna go to a shoulder exercise, working the deltoid muscle around the ball of your shoulder. Where are we at for time? We're trying to get everything in. We had a lot of questions though, which are always good. Love to talk and have questions or just comments or what's going on in your lives. I think it's so important to have a group of people around you. And so I want to help create that here of people encouraging one another and helping one another, because this is, it's difficult. We all have injuries or things that are setbacks, but we want to push and keep on going. So if I can help encourage, that's what I'm here for. So for this, we're going to do a lateral raise, but we're going to do it with resistance bands because we can do this in a little bit better way. So what I'm going to do is step right in the middle of the band. Then I'm going to take the handles and cross them so that I get a diagonal. And what that's going to do is get me a better line of pull for this lateral raise movement. So for this, because it's pulling diagonal, it pulls into my body down in this section, and that's going to get a better workout for that deltoid muscle. Now when doing this, just have to adjust it so it's about even. It felt a little uneven. I'm only going to go as high as my shoulders on this one, because as I go up, the band increases in resistance to where going up above my shoulder, it's so much resistance, it's building up more fatigue than benefit. So the important part is going all the way back to my legs with this movement. And I'm going for at least 5. If I can get up past 10, that's fine too. You should feel this in the top of your shoulder and that ball of muscle around your shoulder joint. Now, if this is painful as you do it, if you get painful as you come up to here, don't push into that range. Try just going down here and see if that has any pain. If it has no pain, stay in this bottom range, and that's okay. You want to go only as high as is comfortable for your shoulder. So no pain, no numbness in the shoulder. It's called a painful arc syndrome, where it hurts when you go in this range right here. That can be a little difficult if you have a shoulder injury. Mentioned about the ligament damage in the C5 is based on an X-ray and my knowledge. I'm a kinesiology major. Hey, I graduated with a degree in kinesiology as well. However, I need to see a doctor and make sure. I'm not a doctor and may not be fully correct. Yes, always see a doctor, especially if you suspect a labral tear. They can get you imaging and actually diagnose, because you don't want it to become more damaged. So if you are cleared to exercise it, I would do external rotation of the shoulder. So either in this range or in the 90-degree range. I would always be careful with self-diagnosis, and anything that causes you pain, that's your body telling you that you are risking injury. So I wouldn't push into the pain. So it's good that you're seeing a doctor, getting it actually with imaging and diagnoses, especially if you suspect some ligament damage. So absolutely, that's great. I'm not here diagnosing. That is not my field. I have recommendations on how to avoid injury, but if you have an injury, get help from the appropriate people. All right. I'm going to take just one more minute. We're going to do 2 more sets of the deltoid muscle. I'm going to give it a minute between to rest, to let that lactic acid clear out of the muscle. Now, if you're doing this with a kettlebell, what I would recommend, instead of lifting up to the side, imagine this is a kettlebell in my hand. What I would do is do one side at a time and lean away from the side you're working. And that's going to get you a better line of pull, because down at this bottom range, you can see gravity is still pulling me down, straight down. If I'm here, gravity is not resisting me anymore. It's just I'm going sideways this way, and gravity is going this way. So that's one advantage of the bands, is I get a better resistance line. If I'm like this, gravity is still resisting me here somewhat. So I get more of that advantage of using a dumbbell or a kettlebell. But that's one of the big reasons I like the resistance bands, because I can have it pull at a diagonal where it's more optimal for that line of pull. The disadvantage of resistance bands is they increase in resistance the further you go. So as I get up to shoulder height, it's really a lot more resistance. So staying straight and tall, thumbs pointed forward, pulling up to the sides, and then back down. Now, if you have pain in your shoulder, again, keep it in a pain-free range. Never want to push into pain, and that can be an indicator that you need to go get some imaging or figure out what's going on with your shoulder if it does hurt up at this top range consistently. Try and go for 10. And relax. So I'm aiming for close to that muscle failure point to where I really feel that muscle working. Mountain Mover says, I plan to get a PhD in health science. Would you recommend it? My goal is to help people in gentrified communities, encourage them to live healthy lives and assist them with their fitness goals. So I think that's such a great goal. I know for me personally, I was gonna go on to physical therapy. I went my undergraduate, I have a bachelor's in kinesiology exercise science. And then I was gonna go for a doctorate in physical therapy. Then my car accident happened. And then I realized that everything I wanted to do, helping people get active, get fit, work out, and exercise, I could do without a doctorate. So for me personally, I stopped at a bachelor's because I liked interacting with people instead of being stuck in school. So, or continuing with 4 more years of school. So it's not a bad goal to have a PhD, and if that's what you want, if that's what gets you to where you want to be, then I think that's great, and that's definitely sounds like it would fit what you want. Could you do what you want to do, helping people with a degree in kines or a degree in kinesiology? Because that might be possible. I know it was for me. You also plan to teach in a university too. So yeah, for a university, you would definitely need the doctorate. That would make sense, because you have to have a certain level of education to be able to teach. So if you're looking to teach in the university, I think that would definitely require going into a PhD program. I think there's some classes you can teach with a master's and some levels you can teach with a doctorate. It's been a little while, but that would make sense if that's your goal. Then I would say, yeah, go for it. I think that's so important right now that so many people either don't know how to exercise or feel discouraged about exercise. And I think it's so important that more people are encouraging and helping and educating in that, because it helps so many different areas of your life. It can help your mental health, it can help your physical health, it can help with your sleep health. So I think resistance training, doing exercise, keeping people happy and healthy, doing this. I mean, it's such an important thing that it touches all sorts of different areas of our lives. So I think that's really admirable. And helping to teach other people what accurate information, I think, is also really good. So you're equipping other people to help more people. So that is awesome. All right, we're gonna go for our last set, lateral raises, and then we'll call it a day. So starting with your hands right at your sides, diagonal pull on the band. So we're gonna cross the band in front, lifting up to the sides and back down. I know for me, kinesiology gave a lot of the theory behind exercise and the physiology, the biomechanics, then on how to analyze different exercise programs and movements and movement patterns. And then once I graduated, the actual application of program design was what I learned a lot after I graduated, was actually applying all that theory into program design. And last one. And then but a big thing with personal training or for program is people. It's with people. It's not, clinically in what's scientifically optimal is not always what people can do. So making it adapt for people, I think is so important. So Shoya says you need a little help. What can we do for you, Shoya? See what I can do. I can hang around for a couple more minutes. So if you like this sort of content and want to see more, I host these live streams on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 o'clock Pacific time. We usually go for around an hour. Joya, do you have a question or something you need that I can help with? Do what I can. So, thank you everyone for being here. Appreciate you hanging out, working out. The goal here is to help encourage people to do resistance training and start even if you're not perfect. I'm definitely not perfect. I'm doing my best and I hope you guys are too. So, Shoya says my front delts are jammed and the area between my tricep and lats are stiff. So you feel like this is jammed and the area between your tricep and lats is really stiff. So I would definitely rest that joint first and see if it goes away. So if you can, take it easy. Maybe do some leg exercises, but give the shoulder a break. If you have pain, if it continues to hurt, I would recommend seeing someone who could diagnose you to see if there's any problems with the shoulder, especially if it's painful in the front, continues to hurt. If it's feeling jammed and sore though, you could try, so any of these, say if it hurts, stop. But what you could do is try a door frame stretch. So you're gonna grab onto a post or a door frame and then turn this way. That'll stretch the muscles in the back of the ball and socket, as well as the muscles back here in your upper back. So this should be pain-free though. So pulling across your body, if you would like to stretch this way. The other thing you could do if you want to try and stretch it is put your hands behind your back. Could be that bicep, but if it hurts, if it's painful, don't do any of these. I'm stressing that a lot, but don't push into pain. For bicep, what you can do, put your hands behind your back and then push out to the back. You should feel a stretch in the front of your shoulder. So it is 206 bones. Muscle number, I don't remember that number off the top of my head. I can name quite a few of the muscles of the major muscle groups, but even there was a time period where I knew all of the tiny ones for anatomy, but right now I keep it to the larger muscle groups that I use. So especially a lot of these small ones in the neck. I know there's a lot of these up in here in the face, but we don't use those for working out really, or we don't isolate those in working out. So I've lost some of those names. But you are right, it's 206 bones, and I think you're right, it's somewhere around 600 muscles. If you ever wanted to, I would definitely Google that if you're interested in the exact number. It is definitely something that is able to be looked up. So Shoya, did that help your shoulder feel a little bit better? Doing this one across your body? We can end with that one. Yeah, it's a lot. In anatomy, they never taught me the bones and muscles. I had to learn them myself. Really? They never taught you bones and muscles in anatomy? That was a huge thing. Like we had to. Interesting. I find that kind of surprising. I would say if you're, I would say that's the biggest thing, is to know bones and muscles if you want to go into a resistance training field. I think that's really important. That's very surprising to me that they didn't teach that. But yeah, so knowing where muscles attach and how they pull on the joint, I think is really helpful for understanding what muscles do. I find weightlifting gave me a much better understanding of how each muscle attached, because it gave it in a real life setting as opposed to just sitting there trying to memorize shapes and numbers on where it attached and what it does. Awesome. So Shoya, I think I'm glad you were here. Glad we got you a stretch that works well for your shoulders. Don't push it too hard. I would still take a rest and let that muscle, let those tissues recover. So I hope to see you guys next time. I will be back doing this, another resistance training workout on Friday at 11 Pacific time. Hope to see you guys there.